Welcome to Gourmet, the channel where I cook my way through all my cookbooks that I own and never use. So fun fact, this is probably the second video I made. I recorded this at the same time that I was making the Bravas potato salad. Today we're making a Bisteeya inspired phyllo chicken pie. This video has no sound too. I hadn't figured out how to do any of this yet. But yeah, this was a good recipe. It's, I am cooking these in order, so that's why this one is so far apart from all of the other. We're going in order of the cookbook, but come along for the journey. It's going to be a good one. So to start off, we've got oil in a pan, and we're going to, just brown some almonds in here. Now you can see that there are some already in the pot. I burnt the first batch. I just wasn't paying attention. The pot got too hot and they totally burnt on me. So yeah, make sure you watch when you're cooking these things because it went so much faster than I anticipated. So I had to throw out that first batch and start over. I kept some in there just because I couldn't get them all out, but whatever. Yeah, so these will get nice and golden brown, and we'll take them out of the pot and set them aside when they're done. We've got our almonds set to the side, so now it's time to add the ground chicken. You can see I struggled to get this out of the package. I hope I'm not the only one who does this. But I finally get out of the package and burn myself with some oil. And I have to go wash my hands. But we're just going to cook this ground chicken. You guys, it's the same thing as ground beef, let's be honest. So everybody knows how to cook ground beef. It's the same thing. Just kind of chop it up until it gets nice and small. You know, it's... You can tell this is the first one I shot. The camera angle so off. Look at that. I mean, not that it's gotten much better, but I think, you know, we've improved a little bit. Now we're going to salt our ground chicken. For whatever reason, you don't add pepper in at this point. That'll come later, but we've got our salt, and we'll continue to cook our ground chicken till our ground chicken is just about finished cooking. You can see here, I'm just making sure that everything is all the way cooked, and then I will go ahead and make sure to set it aside. I just you want to keep all the oil in the pan still because we are going to add more things to it. So I took a slotted spoon, and that's what I used at first to get all of the chicken out. You can see it's working pretty well, so no complaints on that choice. But yeah, this was a really interesting recipe to do. It's something that I've never cooked before. I didn't even know what a Bisteeya was, but it's a traditional Moroccan pie. Yeah, so this one's going to be fun to see how it comes together. And I'm just going to apologize again. You know, the quality on this video is, not great. It's pretty bad, but this was the first one I filmed. So, you know, it really does only get better. Okay, so we've got our chicken set aside. We've got the almond set aside. Now we're going to add an onion. This is just a medium yellow onion chopped. And then we also are going to go ahead and add in here freshly peeled and finely grated ginger. That's something that I don't do. And you know my favorite, we've got minced garlic on the way. Yeah, I'm not gonna chop garlic if they make chopped garlic already. So we're gonna add that in. I'm just here double checking the recipe, and now we're gonna let that cook and come together and get nice and brown. Now that we've had our onions and ginger cooking for a little bit, we are going to add some pepper to this. We added some salt before, and we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. This is really what makes it. I think it's we're adding some cinnamon, we're going to add turmeric, and we'll add some golden raisins. I think this is maybe like a Middle Eastern kind of combo. That's what I'm calling it. Maybe it's more Mediterranean. I'm not really sure, but I will say ever since I've made this recipe, I have included these kinds of warmer spices into some other dishes I've made and have thoroughly enjoyed them. So it was new to me at this point just because I don't make this kind of cuisine often or at all. And I really, I had to go out of my way to buy raisins. Not that they were hard to find, but I don't go down that aisle. And yeah, now that I have all this stuff, I am actually using it and incorporating it into my everyday cooking techniques. So I have to say, this experiment is going well so far. Like, we're using our cookbook and we're actually using what we've learned in everyday life. And I know I don't say it, but I am actually posting these videos in chapter order with the cookbook. So that's why this one and the first one are so far apart, even though they were filmed on the same day. I was making these for some friends, and this is just how it's all played out. These are the recipes I chose. So we're going to deglaze our pan here a little bit with some water. You really want to get all of those, like that brown goodness off the bottom of the pan. The recipe says 2 tablespoons. I just poured a splash of water in until I felt like that was maybe 2 tablespoons. We're not really measuring that hard. It's this is not the baking section. This is the cooking section. So we can take a lot more liberties here. But you can see how much we are really deglazing this pan here, kind of, and adding those, getting all of that brown stuff out. This is the good part. Now, it does say to cook for about a minute. I did way more than a minute. I'm not really sure why, but I cooked this for probably, how long was that? Probably 5 minutes. It doesn't really change. It doesn't get much more cooked. I think I was just getting some of the water out. But yeah, I cooked this for a lot longer than the recipe said. But that's okay. I think it came out really good still. And honestly, I would recommend cooking it for as long as I did. I think it was the right move. So it's been, probably 5 or 6 minutes, way longer than the cookbook says. But we're just going to take those onions, that whole mixture, and set it aside in a bowl with everything else, and kind of start the cooling process, because what you're going to do is you're going to have the chicken, the almonds, the onion mixture, all that's in a bowl. You'll see here in a minute that I grate some lemon zest into it, off camera, of course, because I hadn't figured out where the frame was. And I add some parsley, and then all of that actually gets put in the refrigerator for right about 30 minutes. You're going to want to cool it all the way before we continue this next part. And as a fun fact, because this video is not chaotic enough already, this next section is actually going to have audio to it, so you don't have to listen to a voiceover filmed in my childhood bedroom at my parents' house over Easter weekend.
So pardon the terrible angle, but what we're going to do next, now that our filling has chilled for 30 minutes, is we're going to start, what are we doing? We're layering the phyllo dough. Now, the phyllo dough I have is not exactly the right size. You need 14-inch squares. So I'm going to have to layer mine a little differently. But we have some melted butter to go in between each layer phyllo dough. And let's get started. See, mine are these 14-inch long. I mean, I'm even using the wrong size sheet pan, but at this point, this is what I have. So, apologies to everybody involved. And I know I'm supposed to have a pastry brush. No, I cannot find mine. No, I have no idea where it is. So, we're just going to try our best with this step. Once again, I'm not dinging the recipe for this. And maybe I should, maybe it's... Not everybody has a pastry brush. Not everybody has this stuff, but I know that I do, and I like to cook, so it's just one of those things that I don't want to deem the recipe because I'm not fully following it, you know? I don't think that's the recipe's fault. I think that's user error. And we just do our best. And we are just going to go sheet by sheet, layer by layer. This is going to be tedious, but hopefully it works out in our favor. Because I think we're going to add this in the middle of this and fold, 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 fold. That's going to be tough because that's not my forte. But here we go. And I have washed my hands, don't worry. Do I just dump? You know, the pictures in this book, they just kind of... What if I just did that? That wasn't the move. Oh well. Told you. This is not for the faint of heart. And I am the faint-hearted right now. I don't know what that means. It doesn't make sense to me either. Okay. And then we're supposed to fold it on top of this. And this is where I'm wondering, maybe I should have done it differently. But we're gonna fold. And maybe, just maybe, even though it says I'm supposed to pleat, I don't really know how to do that. So I'm just gonna try to make sure everything's folded. And you know, the one thing I've learned from not making pastry very often is you want this stuff to stick. So if I just add a bunch of butter and get this to stick down, that'll work, right? That's fine. And then we have this bad boy in this little corner. Ooh, now I've just ripped it. There's no way this stays together. Not the way I've done it, baby. Oh well. I'm gonna wash my hand really quick and stop touching it. And throw that in the oven. Okay, let's get this in the oven for 45 to 50 minutes. We'll start with 45. While that cooks, I'm just gonna hold you guys with my hand. I kind of go over how the recipe went. I think the recipe was really easy. It wasn't super difficult. So far, it has taken over 2 hours, but I think that's more so technical difficulties on my end versus the recipe. But that is something to keep in mind, that it did take me more than 2 hours. And then the ingredients were super easy to find. I had no trouble there. I did have to go down a couple aisles that I normally don't go down, like to find raisins, but I really had no issue. I thought the phyllo dough would be hard, but I found that without an issue. And now we just have to taste it to see how it goes. But for how easy it was, and was I able to follow the recipe? So far, this one's looking really good, guys.
So now we're here with no audio once again. I no idea what happened. But you can see we've taken this out of the oven. We've actually dusted it with some powdered sugar and cinnamon per the recipe. Shockingly, it did all stay together. I really thought the phyllo dough was going to break and I was going to lose some of the filling in this, but I guess I did a good enough job folding this one together and gluing all the phyllo dough with butter. I did have a little problem cutting it. I didn't anticipate the bottom to be as thick as it was, but because my phyllo dough sheets were slightly the wrong size, I had to overlayer them, like double layer pieces. So it was a lot thicker on the bottom than the recipe really called for. But, you know, it is what it is. We used the phyllo dough we found. I couldn't find the exact 14 by 18 sheets to make 14-inch by 14-inch squares. You know, I had what I had. But that's what the inside of it looks like. You know, if you scroll back just a little bit as I zoomed it past your screens, but it held together really well. I have to say I really like this one. Like I said just before all of this, the ingredients were easy to find. I didn't have any issues there. I thought the recipe was easy to follow. The only part that I thought I kind of got tired of doing was with the phyllo dough, layering all the phyllo dough. But I don't know, maybe 14 sheets of phyllo dough. That's to be expected. But I really like this one. I think overall this is a really solid, probably like 7.5 or 8 out of 10. I have no problems with it, and it's taught me, new flavor profiles that I have kept in my regular daily life. So I liked this one. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Sorry, I know this was back to the old ways when we first started, but thanks for coming along, and I'll see you guys in the next one.